Hey guys, Maxim55 here, back with a new Transformers custom review. This time it's on Transit. Yes, this guy actually transforms and is actually a Transformer, not just a Lego build, sort of. I mean, to make him an actual bus, I really just had to use Lego or something modeling wise, and Lego was the best thing for me. I don't 3D print, I don't like to, I like to be authentic, and this is how I do things here. So, this is a quick segment on the vehicle mode, and then, later I'll get into the robot mode, and we will go through the transformation because there are different things now. But here is the bus mode. I don't know if you can see through the light. He does have windscreen wipers that do move. But yeah, this guy, it took a long time to sort of design him. There was a lot of design changes. I'll even show them if I can try and find them again. But there was a lot of design changes, and I ended up going with this design, which was more of a slimmed down version of the actual back of the bus, which I designed because I realized it was too big to fit on the 86 Mixmaster mold, which this is based on. As you can see, there is like the parts of robot, so that is 86 Mixmaster. The only thing I don't like about this custom is that you can still see the green from Mixmaster. That's just because it's very bright green on white paint, like you're gonna see it. So maybe one day I'll repaint them, but I doubt it. This is very, like you can see the slit and it's misaligned. That's because this broke off and I had to re-glue it. And unfortunately, it now doesn't really sit properly. But now these are aligned. Originally, they weren't aligned at all. So I'm kind of happy about that. But I mean, the front isn't that good. So, oh well. And yeah. I'm pretty happy with how he kind of turned out. Now, he does have two modes. He does have this really long sort of like bus mode. But if you can try and get him off. So first you need to take off these like roof pieces. And take off these roof pieces here. And then sort of just rip this off. And there's a mini bus. There you go. So you have like a shorter bus. It actually rolls because these back wheels don't roll. So he actually does roll around, and he's a little bit shorter for display purposes. But now you can expose Lego ports and holes, and it doesn't look the greatest. But yeah, he does parts form. Obviously, I don't think I would have been able to make a transit not parts form him. But these things do transform. They do serve a purpose in some way. And yeah, I'll get into that more with the robot mode. But yeah, you do have to separate them, but I'll combine this guy back in and we'll go through the entire transformation now. Okay, so before we get into the actual transformation into robot mode, I am just going to quickly show you into vehicle mode. So obviously you have clips here and then like clips here. You just clip everything together. They are ratcheted clips, so they actually stay kind of locked together. Then these little pieces here just sit here to fill in the gap, because if this wasn't here, I mean, it's super glue, I can't take it off. Yeah, if that wasn't there and it was just like that, there would be a gap like here, and I didn't like it, so I made these struts here that combine, but they serve a purpose in the robot mode, so I don't really mind. But yeah, that's how that happens. That's how that works for robot mode. So transformation into robot mode is pretty simple, as it is just the A6 Mixmaster mold for the most of the robot parts, but as you saw before, you do have to take some parts off. So we'll get into that. So first you need to take off these little pieces here that will become wings for the back. You do that on both sides. So they go off to the side for now. Then, because I've super glued most of this Lego, I know it's illegal, like, don't super glue Lego, but this is supposed to be a Transformer. It's not supposed to be a Lego mock, so just bear that in mind. You grab this part here, you grab this with your hand because it won't break, and then just rip it off, and there you go. So they have the actual robot. So what you need to do is first detach, detach the arms, then fold down the chest. Oh, hello, Transit. And then rotate the arms down. It's pretty stiff because it's painted. And huzzah, you have like the chest and the arms. The back pieces here do parts form, but you have little clips here that you take off that will then connect onto these back studs right here. Take that off and place that there. Then take these parts again and connect them to those things that you connected. Well, we have to do these first, but then you connect them. So technically, you're just swapping everything over. This is just the only way I figured out how. These do have little hinges. I added these in here for, you know, making this go on the side, but they do still fold. They don't really serve a purpose folding though. We'll put those off to the side for now to get the legs transformed. Let me see how, I need to try to remember how to do this. So yeah, bend and just keep bending everything. Basically just Mixmaster style, just keep bending the legs and then fold in these little knee things. There we go. Paint on the floor. These little pieces, I know you're supposed to like flip these out during like transformation and stuff, but like you really don't need to. And then these become little feet now because I've cut off those little flaps. So hey, if you want to do that to your original 86 Mixmaster, go ahead. But there are some little parts forming to do here. So first you need to take off, because you don't want these on the robot legs. So you take off both of them. We'll do one side. And then you take one of the white ones and connect them to that blue stud right there. That would have been a tile if this didn't, you know, this transformation didn't exist. Then you take the black one and then you just connect it to the side. So now it's cleaner than that side. And we'll do on the other same on the other side. Remove that out of the way. So that goes there. And the black one just goes there. And then these windscreen wipers just fold like that. And then you just separate the legs. And there we go. There's Transit's legs and robot mode. Basically all done. Sort of. You still have a few accessory things to do. So then you have the back wings here. You just connect those onto those studs we placed on before. And they become Transit's like door wing, like the wings he has in the cutscene. But yeah. And then if you do want, you can put these in somewhere. So you have a stud, a hole here, and then a stud here. And they just connect onto these back. But they're not very secure because it's just a one stud connection. So sometimes I do just hang them off because there's no point. But they do have another place to go in a different version. But that's another version you can do. Let me raise the camera a little bit. So that's basically Transit. And I did give him his little hammer thing. It doesn't really stay in properly, but hopefully it'll do it now. Yeah, okay. There we go. And then you may be thinking, oh, what about this thing? Well, this also has a place. So these things do have the parts form again, but these go on the back of here. I'll show that off again. Then this entire back section, you need to parts form this part off. So you can get into here. Parts form this little back thingy off. There's a lot of parts forming. So that means you have room for these. And then you need to sort of parts forming, but not really. You need to take this off. So you grab it from here. So these rotate out. You have to basically take this off, rotate it out, but then just reattach it. The only reason to do that is because the wheel bumps into this and we'll just pop it off anyways. That was just a mishap on, you know, me adding the wheels there. Then what you're going to do is turn it around, rotate these little parts here down, rotate these wheels on a ratchet, so then these will fold inwards to close up the cannon, and then these rotate on this hinge here, and this will rotate over, and this will hook over to there, so it'll look like that. And then you can just twist these anyways. Then you take these parts here, and you can really put these anywhere, but you put this one in the middle of there, and you take this one and just reattach it to there. So they have a place to go, so don't worry. And that is pretty much everything for this mode. It's mostly like a supposed to be styled off the Revenge of the Fallen 80s the Mixmaster cannon mode, with the wheels coming in to collide here, and then having the strut, and then the giant cannon. It does have a peg there because it was meant to be held by Mixmaster, but due to the way his arm is sculpted, he generally just can't. Due to his shoulder, and then it's just, I absolutely hate the 86 Constructicons, but also this just blocks it. So, and then you can't really put it on the arm, but yeah, it was meant to go on the arm. It was actually meant to be the upgrade kit for Classics Ultra Magnus, the way the cannon sort of folds in on itself to become a gun, but I couldn't really design that into the bus. So yeah, it becomes a giant cannon. A low stature cannon, so that's pretty cool. I mean, it has a use. But these things that I mentioned before, they just come onto this. So they connect here, and that's when this becomes really heavy because it just one stud connection and then there's so much like heaviness. But yeah, you take this stud right here and then you just connect into that hole, making it look like that. So it's a giant wing, and then you can just connect it to there. And that becomes like extra wings and stuff for your boy. But as you can see, watch. It doesn't stay. So I usually just keep it off. I don't see the point. It's mostly just there for like storage reasons. But again, like you have all this, so you can really attach it like anywhere. You can attach them to the back of here if you wanted to. You know, give it extra like, you know, extra length. Actually, it doesn't look too bad. There we go. See, you can just attach it anywhere, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, here is the rubber mode. I really wish I could have repainted these just to keep them white again, because they don't really look that good. This bar is always going to chip just due to transformation. I'm happy about the Decepticon symbol. It looks pretty good there. Again, I mentioned the feet, the head. Yeah. Also, this was based off a Digibash I saw. Here's the Digibash. So credit goes to Soundwave Craft, I believe, who made it. So yeah. But as you can see, the bustings just hang out on the back. And there's the wings. But yeah, unfortunately, the weapon just does not want to stay in. Like, it stays in, but like it'll just come off like randomly because of just the hole, I think. It's really annoying. Also, there's a Lego tile here because obviously I removed the wheel. So I replaced where the wheel was with a Lego tile, so it makes it less hollow, but it's still hollow there, so that's a bit unfortunate. But hey, it just makes it look cleaner-ish. Yeah, I'm happy with the blue, how this blue turned out. I thought that was very nice. I also obviously painted a lot of like silver detail, but that's mostly for vehicle mode. I do wish the white was more on par with the paint white, but painting Lego, it can sometimes break. I mean, it's broken on me a few times with my other customs, so yeah. I'm happy with how the bus on the back here sort of just sits there. Yes, he does do leg mode, by the way. He still has the transformation sequence for leg mode, but because of how much modifications I made to this back part here, without little Mixmaster's little shield, he can't do leg mode. He doesn't have any connections to Devastator anymore. So, yes, he can do a leg, but there's like no point because he can't form a leg. So, yeah. But here is the giant cannon. As you can see, it's just a coupled mess of just parts, but hey, it makes up something. I guess your imagination can go wild. But again, it's a reference to the Revenge of the Fallen Mixmaster canon mode and how he did that, because this guy is made out of Mixmaster. So it's just a reference within a reference type of thing. But yeah, I really wish I didn't make this out of ratchets though. I just didn't see the point. I get just due to when I was designing it, I did make everything out of ratchets. And then I went back and made some hinges, and then I realized, oh, this shouldn't really be a ratchet. There's like no point. There's parts here that should have been ratchets more than this, because this is just a wheel. Like, it just shouldn't be on a ratchet. It can easily be on a hinge, but hey, that's just a design flaw on my end. I should have just reused parts, but hey. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this guy, and yeah, I would because I've made a bunch of transits in the past and they've never worked, and they've also never transformed. So to make a transforming one that looks pretty decent, I'm pretty happy with, because I made it to TF 2005 wiki, I made it to the forums. So hey, that's cool, right? Sixo saw my custom and thought, yeah, that's worth being in like top 10. So yeah, I clearly made something good. But yeah, that's my review on my custom transit from Rise of the Beasts. But this is like a G1 version sort of thing. But yeah, also it's like, I guess, a comparison with a figure I have. Here's Wheeljack, another white boy. Anyways, or Pablo, whatever. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next review. Bye-bye. Okay, I lied. It's not the end of the video. Here is all the behind the scenes sort of pictures I put on my Instagram while making this guy. As you can see, I did do like a drawing layout of what I wanted, like sort of envisioning what would happen with transit. The the big giant gun being the back of the bus being turned into a gun, and then it also being Lego, having the little parts connected to transit being the back wings, and then also having the classic Ultra Magnus gun design, which didn't happen unfortunately, but it was a plan in the original script. And then here's images of the original bigger design that I talked about, where I before I slimmed it down. Yes, it's in blue bricks instead of white. That's just because it's easier to build of blue bricks and darker pieces. But I do have a step-by-step transformation that I posted with the original design, so I'll just let that play for you right now with some music in the background. And then here is where I was talking about how a transit was going to hold the gun, but unfortunately, because of Mixmaster's terrible articulation, he couldn't. So as you can see, there's the peg, and then there's 2 bars at the side that would have went over his biceps to lock it in place. Here's the giant trailer thing in white. Then I decided to give him the stripes that he needed and the windows. As you can see, the windows used to be just 1x1s instead of just a line that it's supposed to be. And then I updated the back to be a little bit cleaner at the end. And then here is the final sort of version of the trailer that you see in the video. As you can see, I slimmed it down so much. This is after I got Mixmaster and planned out how long the parts were. And all the pink parts you see are the newer parts I added. And then here is the gun mode with the new parts. And then here is the final version, sort of. This is the pretty much final version that I made for Transit, what you see in the video. So yeah, that's what it looks like. And then here's just like me building the front of Transit. And then here's the custom back piece that you saw in the video. I don't believe I actually painted those parts orange yet. I'll probably have to do that one day, but yeah, those little back parts are supposed to be orange. So yeah, and those little pieces you have to take off during the transformation, I actually build those on the spot using spare parts I ordered from Bricklink. And of course, credit to Soundwavecraft8 on Instagram. This is the original inspiration for this custom. As you can see, it was just a digibash, but yeah, always giving out credit. And I'll see you all later in the next video. Bye bye.